Good evening, everybody. We are back again. I'm Renee Cannon, the pastor of the Temple of Praise Seventh-day Adventist Church. We're located again in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm here with our wonderful treasurer, who is also an economist, Dr. Walter Simmons.
Welcome. Good to be here.
Yeah, and we're back again with another session of Money Matters, and this time we're dealing with that all important topic of how to make more money. When you're dealing with the topic of money, I know one thing, Dr. Simmons, that never makes people upset, and that's adding more money onto your own pockets.
Indeed.
So hopefully, they say, if you want to make everybody happy, sell ice cream. But in this, we're talking about how to get more money. So hopefully this is something that we can use that ought to make everybody happy. And before we get into it, I want to look at a text from the Bible that'll serve as kind of a springboard or a spiritual nugget for us to have before we get into the session. Because, of course, making money is good and such, but we want to do so within the confines which God has set up for us to do so. So our text is coming from 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 6. I've also got it upon the screen. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 6. And here the Apostle Paul, he writes to the Corinthians and he says this: "But this I say, he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will also reap bountifully." Now in this text, the Apostle Paul, he was encouraging the Christians at Corinth to not only give cheerfully, but he said give expectantly. Cheerfully because they were giving to the work of God, and expectantly because those who gave were to expect to receive a bountiful blessing from the Lord. However, in addition to the principle of being a cheerful and expectant giver, I believe there's something else that God has for us in the text this evening. For from this verse, we can get the idea that if we want to increase our income, we must also increase our output. I know there are a lot of ideas. Yes. And people try to tell you that you can get more while doing less. That's a lie that does not come from the Lord. This text lets us know that the one who sows sparingly or sows a little bit, does a little work, will also reap sparingly. And it's the one that does it bountifully that also reaps bountifully, or in a multiplicitous type of way. But when you look here, what Paul is doing, he's calling our text back to the farmland. Being from Kentucky, I understand this. And he's saying that the farmer who goes outside and plants many seeds in the ground will one day reap much fruit from the soil. This means that the amount of the harvest is directly proportional to the amount of labor. So therefore, if you want to see more money in your life, then you need to increase your labor. For some, that might mean working more hours or getting a second job, or maybe finding a side hustle. For others, that might mean finally publishing that book that you've been talking about for the last 6 and 7 years. For others, like Dr. Simmons brought out in times past, it might mean getting that trade done or going off to college, doing what it takes to make more income. For the text says that the one who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, but the one who sows bountifully or sows in plenty, they will also reap plenty. So that's going to conclude our spiritual nugget there. And I'm going to go ahead and lean upon Dr. Simmons as we talk about this subject, how to make more money. What comes to your mind, Doc?
Well, Pastor, as you said that, in economics, we have a saying that there is no free lunch. Someone is paying for it. There is no free lunch. And as I listen to you, we are talking about basically how do I monetize my skills, and there are many ways to do that. You can do it in a formal way. You go have the formal education, you go to college, and even then, we get to a point where, you're working for a company, there is a limit as to how much you're going to make in income. So the question becomes, what else can I do? Because, even in a 2-family home these days, Pastor, that it's difficult with inflation at 6, 7, 8%. Cost of living is going up, so we need that additional income to survive,
Right.
and I think that there are many ways, Pastor, that we can monetize our skills.
Mm-hmm.
And we live in a world today with social media. Okay, you can start your own blog, Pastor. What are
Yes.
you good at? You can get on YouTube. You can pick up a freelance.
Mm-hmm.
You can become a coach, an online coach. You can create your own online course. You can write a book. I have many people talk about, one day I want to write that book. There are online sources that will help you publish that book.
Do it online.
Do it
Even with
online.
children's books, I've seen you can get illustrations done by people online. The internet it just has a wealth of knowledge for us. You were talking about the online courses. That's a way to take the knowledge you already have in life, put it down, and people will be able to purchase that. I'm a consumer of that. I listen to a guy, Kev on Stage and such, and one of the things that he did is a course on how to produce and really monetize the content you put online. I paid about $100 or so, and I watched it. Was very good for me. So I know that's something that you are able to put out too.
Definitely. And Pastor, what people don't think about sometimes is that sometimes you have to invest in yourself. Invest in yourself also means that, like you talked about, paying $100 for a course. That's an investment. You're going to reap the rewards later. You invest to get information. You invest to get into networking. So you invest, you build up what we call your human capital. You increase in your skill, your education. So what that means is that allows you and presents you with more opportunities. So sometimes we don't think about, okay, taking that extra class, going to that extra networking event. All that is part of investment into yourself. And sometimes we want everything free. You don't want to pay money to do those type of things. Oh, I'm not paying $100 for a course to go listen to someone. But it's not just listening to someone. You are paying for knowledge.
That's right. That's
right. Fortunately for us, a lot of that knowledge is available in abundance. But we have to know how to navigate it. How do you get it? And what is appropriate. So when you go to the seminars and so on, sometimes what they do is that they fine-tune the process for you. Because, information can be complicated. So if you have if you, for example, have a skill in terms of, you're a preacher and you have the skills of preaching, well, you'll fine-tune that skill and condense it. Now someone else could utilize that skill, and that can be monetized. So we are talking about anything. Anything can be monetized because people are willing to pay for it.
Even hobbies.
Oh, definitely.
Because there are people who want to do those things too. One of the things that my wife is interested, she wants to make some clothes and do those types of things, but there are people that know how to sew and such. She's been shopping around to try to see which class that she can go to.
That's right.
Where she can learn to do that thing.
And your market is the entire world. So you're not confined and restricted to just the United States. Because once you get into social media, you are exposed to over 300 million people. That's the market out there. So even if you get 1-2% of that market listening to you, the idea is that we want to make much more money, but there is a process like everything else, but we have to learn that process. How do I? And you have to learn from the people who have walked the walk. You have to learn from those, not just talk the talk, but those that have walked the walk, those who have done it. And utilizing that information, you have to be disciplined. You have to be dedicated, because everything, I just said that everything takes some time, Some things happen faster than other things, but in essence, you have to put in the work if you want to get the outcome. And if you put in a little work, get a little outcome.
That's right.
You have people out there telling you that, well, you don't have to do this and you don't have to do that. Behind the scenes, believe you me, they are putting in the effort. They are putting it in. So again, it's like anything else. What goes in comes out. In economics, we call it the production function. What do you put into that product? That's what you're going to get coming out. Now again,
I was about to say, yeah, that's why I wanted to even bring this text back up. It says it plainly, the one who's sowing sparingly, the one who put just a little seed into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You've invested just a little bit of your time, a little bit of your effort and money. Then you should not be surprised when you yield little on your return too. I like the way you tied that in, Doc.
Yes, and also, Pastor, even when you are receiving the income that you receive, and you may look around and say, okay, what other opportunities are out there? Maybe we live in an environment these days where the demand for labor is great. The demand for labor is greater than the supply of labor.
Yes.
So now companies are paying 15, 20, $25 an hour, and workers have a lot of opportunities. But you have to go and you have to put in the effort. So some people may talk about changing jobs. Well, you have to be careful with that too, because I want to change my job, but you shouldn't make that decision just based on what the salary is. You got to think in terms of, okay, is there flexibility? What about things that this company is paying more, but do they have health insurance?
That's right.
This company is paying more, but do they have a nice retirement plan? This company is paying more, but do they have educational benefits? This company is paying more, but do they have room for advancement?
Yes.
This company is paying more, but what's the culture? This company is paying more, but is that company stable? What's about the stability? This company is paying more, but does it involve more responsibility? Does it involve a better work environment? Does it involve the opportunity to grow and advance, right? So you have to take all those things into consideration, because sometimes the grass usually seems greener on the other side. And sometimes what you need to do is to water your grass at home.
Yeah, water your own grass. You need to.
That's what.
I want to pause you right now. If there were anything worth sharing, it is all the information that Dr. Simmons just gave within those 45 seconds. If you didn't take the time to share it before, you need to go ahead and share this video now, because those are the considerations that you should be making before you quit your job and go some other place and wind up a place you don't want to be. My wife was doing that thing, Doc, when we were in Virginia. One of the awesome perks that she have, like you said, the paid time off, and she had the option to work from home, a lot of times and such. And those things in itself, like that paid time off and the opportunity to be home and such, those these days, they can save you money, because it costs, $55 a gallon, to make it,
right.
and two, when you're home and such, you have another opportunity to be able to multitask and do some of those things as well. And it saves you some mental health in some aspects if you are not the type of person that is able to go in and do that all the time. So those considerations, you need to rewind it, come back and listen to those things again, write them down. And pass it out.
Definitely. And even then, another challenge that sometimes in a competitive market that people have, before you leave your job, then why not consider going to your boss and asking for a raise? You've been there by the company. I mean, but again, in doing that, you have to kind of think about some factors. For example, you have to choose the right time to ask. I mean, is the company financially healthy? Right? When is the best time to act? The company is going through some rough time. That may not be the right time to ask for a raise. And then you have to ask yourself, what have I been doing within that company? What areas am I productive in within that company? Then you should have a good idea as to what the salary trends are. You're asking for a raise. Well, what are your competitors paying? And what are the jobs in similar industries paying? You should know that. So make a list of your accomplishments. What have I done for that company that would warranty that company giving me a raise?
That's right, because you can't just get a raise just because
and
you're the bottom performer on the you're barely showing up on time, and
that's right. And again, you have to set up I think the best way to do it is to set up a face-to-face meeting with your boss.
Okay, here we're getting into the meet now. Set up
set up that face-to-face meeting. And sometimes, I am very much big on being intentional. When you go to that boss, think about what you're going to say. For example, you can say, "Thank you for taking the time to meet me today. I'm excited to keep working towards key company goals. I'm excited to continue working here to see the company expand. And as a result, I would like to discuss my position here at the company." So, have some talking points. Don't be random.
Let me get in there. So, because I've never heard anybody talk about how to ask somebody for a raise. I've never heard this conversation. And you said, when you come to these people, you need to have you don't want to just come in loose and shooting off the hip. You want to know what you're talking about. So the first part he said is when you show up, the first thing you want to do is show your appreciation for the company, and show that you are a team player, that you're a part of it and such, and that's one thing that I do know from experience. Your employer values people who also value the organization.
That's right, Pastor. You have to value the organization, and you have to convey to the management that you are bringing value to the company. And value takes a lot of different faces. You could be human resource, where you are kind of customer oriented. It could be the financial part of it, where you basically are the financial analyst of the company, and you know where the company is going, and you're a good financial and strategic manager for the company. So again, Pastor, it comes back. You and I, from the beginning, we always talk about information, having the right information, knowing how to navigate that information. As we said, and I come back to it again, making money is easy. It's not that complicated, but you have to have information. You have to have the right networking. You have to learn the right process. Things are process oriented. We tend to think that things are just random and they just happen. Yes, that there's some element of that, but for the most part, there is a process. And I always want to go back to our very first podcast, our budget, where you learn to plan and to be intentional. Again, so making money is there for the making. The question is, are we dedicated? Are we committed? And if we are, then we'll reap the rewards if we put in the effort. As you said, you can't just put in a little effort and expect to get big returns. Don't buy into that type of philosophy. It's just gamesmanship.
Or it's illegal. If you're doing something that don't require much and you're getting a whole lot back, there's a good chance you might be headed to prison.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
We want to make sure that we are, using, the energy, the talents that God has given us. That was one of the ideas that we had talked about before. God has blessed each of us with aptitudes and abilities and such. And we have to be good stewards over those things. And what that means is we're not hiding, these blessings that God has given us in the dirt, but we want to be active in using them. And the result of you using that which you already have is that you're going to receive financial blessing, because each of you already has skills that employers out right now, they're thirsty for it. You can't go anywhere. I was driving down the highway the other day, and I took my eyes off of the road. And the reason I took my eyes off the road, because I saw a huge warehouse, and all across the entire top or roof of the warehouse, they had "We are hiring" it. Then they had $25 an hour. They want to let you know they're trying to give away this money.
Definitely. And Pastor, these days you talk about monetizing your skill. We have a global platform to do this.
Yes.
You can stay in your basement, wherever you want to be.
Yeah, that's true.
So there are no excuses for not doing it. People, I don't have talent. I don't like to talk in front of people. Well, you don't have to talk in front of people. Now you just have to talk in front of a camera. Nobody's looking at you from the security of your basement. You can make So again, the opportunities are just abundant. And I go back to your text. I like the text because it says that if you sow sparingly, you know, you don't get much. And if you don't need much and you think you're comfortable with not having much, then fine. But don't complain and say, well, this is not happening for me and that's not happening for me. You know, you put in the right effort and you have to be smart about it. Yes, you work hard, but you work also with wisdom, you know,
Right.
and discernment and so on. You know, so
Mm-hmm. You know, because one thing I am always sensitive to is that every text doesn't have a perfect parallel. So it's not the idea that you are not working hard. That poverty comes from not working hard. It's not necessarily
oh,
true.
not at all. No, we
Right.
know
And I
that.
just wanted to kind of clarify so that we don't sound this way. But one thing that is true is that we cannot do nothing and expect to receive more for non-existent labor and such. This is also true. So like Dr. Simmons said, that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to go out and break our backs for 8 additional hours and such. But you've got a phone and such. You may be able to use that same phone that we spend time looking at social media, the same phone that we spend our time watching up YouTube videos and whatever media that we are consuming can also be a device that we use to make money.
Definitely, Pastor. And we know definitely there are structural inequities in our society that keeps, especially the marginalized folks like Black and Hispanic people, that keeps us in a certain place, and prevent us from a lot of mobility. But we acknowledge that. No one is saying that that does not exist, but we are talking about utilizing whatever skill you have at whatever level you are in life. Monetize it mean that I was making $1, now I'm making $2.
Right.
For someone else, it could mean I'm making $1 million, now I'm making 10 million. We are at different stages in life, doing different things.
Absolutely.
We say that there is always room for improvement. There is always room for doing better. There is always room for being more efficient.
Man, I think with this entire lesson, I think that you came out firing. Just hitting this thing, right off the bat. And you've given us so much. And one of the things that the blessing of tuning in to these Money Matter sessions is kind of like Dr. Simmons was explaining before. He was saying when you're listening to people, you're listening to people who are experts in the field. Well, what we have the opportunity to do with you on the line right now, you have an opportunity to listen to somebody who is an expert in finance, the dean of an entire, economic department and such. And you are able to tune in and listen to this for free. So the advice and the counsel that is coming forth, it's not coming forth from some left field and such. This is coming forth from, an expert, somebody who knows what they're talking about. So we encourage you, if you, just started tuning in with us, that you would even go back and listen to sessions before, because all of this, and trust me, I've been listening. I participate in this, but I've been listening to, and I've been reaping the benefits of following the counsel that has come forth from Dr. Simmons. So we're encouraging you to go back and even get those lessons and share this onto your social media platforms so that your friends and your family can also get this blessing.
Indeed, Pastor. Indeed. And just want people to know that it's not a complicated process. It's complicated when you don't know what you don't know. And what we try to do in this program is to create an awareness, to let you know that there are opportunities, there are ways, there are channels, there are networks, that you can utilize if you want to move from point A to point B.
And that'll take us out. You got any final thoughts? Are we good from there?
Yes, indeed. I just want to encourage people that, to make a commitment to improve if you're not satisfied where you are. And there are always ways and means to move forward, whether it be financially, whether it be socially, and so on. We have to be evolving, and that's very important, And I think we just have that, I mean, what does God expect of us? To grow within His image. So we have an obligation, and most of all, we have opportunities to do it.
Man, I'm telling you, man. I'm coming to the altar on this. Yeah, as you
Yes,
talking,
indeed.
I'm telling you now that you made the appeal to commit. There are things that I know that I should be doing in my mind and such, but I've made whatever excuse that I can. I don't have the time. I don't have any. When those are really lies, I do have the time. I am able to do it. So I'm gonna be the first one to commit, and I hope that as Dr. Simmons has made that appeal to you, that you have also made that decision to commit, and that as you commit, we're praying that God is going to continue to bless you and to grow you, and that in return for it, that you would look up and that you would give God the glory that is due to His name. So again, we thank you for coming out this evening. We encourage you. Of course, my grandfather, he said, when you hear something good, pass it on. If you heard anything that was good today, we ask that you pass it on by sharing it, that you would send this to somebody else, because I guarantee they will be better off for it. And also, if you've heard what's come forward and you just want to be a blessing onto our church, here's some ways you can do it. If you got a Cash App, you can put in # Temple of Praise SDA Church, and you can give. We got several things that you're able to give for. Right now, we are raising money for our windows and such to replace some windows within our church. So you can write windows in the subject line. If you want to give your tithe or your offering there and such, you are able to do that as well. We've also got www.adventistgiving.org. We encourage you to type in the Temple of Praise Seventh-day Adventist Church. And there you can select local offering categories. We got a list of things that you're able to give to, including our windows, or you can give to our conference initiatives. Or if you want to visit us or you want to mail it in, we are the Temple of Praise Seventh-day Adventist Church. We're located at 1985 Green Road, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes,
the zip code is 44121. We also want to let you know that I've been participating now for quite some time, and you can go on our page and such. We're on the Temple of Praise page as well. I've been participating with Patmos Chapel in this series that is called "This Is Really Us," and it teaches what Seventh-day Adventists actually believe. So this is Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. On Wednesday nights, of course, we have prayer meeting with the Temple of Praise Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'll put a flyer in the comments so that you're able to see it there. But our prayer meeting, it starts at 7 o'clock. We get onto the line on Zoom, rather, at 7 o'clock, and we share prayer requests and testimonies and such. Then we go live about 7:30 in our studies. But next week, so the next time we get on, the next Wednesday, we'll actually be moving on from our study in the book of Acts, and we're going to be looking at the book of Romans. But anyhow, we're so thankful for you joining in with us. Again, we're live every Thursday at 7 p.m. So please be on the lookout for us. God bless you. We'll connect with you again next week. All right, everybody.